Hello and welcome back to Mosh Talks. I'm back with a dictionary bookmark and I am going to be talking about the literature and the visual media I have consumed this month. So I wrote down all my notes on my little notebook. I think it's better than having the MacBook open. This is just more whimsical. We have lots to discuss today. This month I have read 4 books. One was like half read last month and I did mention it on my previous video, but I'm just gonna cap it off with what I think. I watched 3 movies and 1 TV show, not in full. We shall discuss, and there's lots to discuss. So for starters, let's talk about the books that I've read. These are the 4 books that I have read this month. Whoop whoop! Jumping off the last video, I completed George Orwell's Homage to Catalonia. I love that cover so much, I can't stop rambling about it. I did talk about it a bit in the previous video, so I'll just be brief about this one. I think it's an amazing capture of his experience during the Spanish Revolution and the Civil War. He talks about how he's really passionate politically. He basically decided to go volunteer and fight in Spain because he's English to fight against fascism, which I thought was very admirable. And I know he's a very anti-fascist guy, like if you read any of his other books, but this one is non-fiction. Like I've previously read 1984 and Animal Farm. They deal with these topics in a fictional setting, but it was really cool reading his opinions and perspectives through a non-fiction book, so I definitely enjoyed that. Just like a random thing to note when I was reading this book, I got the impression that he didn't really like his wife. I remember he goes back to Barcelona before fighting breaks out and he leaves his wife in this hotel and he's like away from her for like the entire span of the fighting that breaks out in the streets in Barcelona, and he's like not even worried about his wife. He's just like, you know, we couldn't reunite, so that's what happened. Maybe he had a very political focus in this book, but I just feel like, damn, where is the compassion to your wife? What the hell? And I think there was one scene that he wrote that when he was reunited with her, she seemed a bit cold. And I was like, okay, broski. In this particular scene, he was talking about how war isn't glorious, but sometimes war can be glorious. So there was this line that he said that I underlined. I thought it was really beautiful. So let me just read it out to you. It was like an allegorical picture of war. The trainload of fresh men gliding proudly up the line, the maimed men sliding slowly down, and all the while the guns on the open trucks making one's heart leap as guns always do, and reviving that pernicious feeling so difficult to get off, that war is glorious after all. I just thought that was beautifully worded, but he's basically saying how even though we all know war isn't glorious, because he deals a lot about that in this book, he talks about the mundane banality of war, all the grossness, all the hygiene, food missing, it's not glorious. Somehow movies and lived experiences always seem to glamorize war, and these images also do. I thought it was a really good, nuanced description of his experience and his homage to Catalonia. So that's my opinion on this book. Oh my god, I can talk for hours about this book. This book, Sonia and Sunny, I think honestly was life-changing. So it was my first introduction to the author Kiran Desai, and I learned that she has another book that actually won the Booker Prize, which I then immediately went onto a secondhand book website and I bought. This is her book that won the Booker Prize, which I'm going to be reading next. I'm so excited. But look at the size comparison between these two. Yeesh. Kind of hate it when books are published in that big size, like when they're first published and then you have to wait months till they come out in a small edition, because this is like a brick to carry around. But anyway, I'll give it a pass because the content was fucking phenomenal. It's written in like a literary magical realism type, so it is a love story between these 2 characters, Sonia and Sunny, but it's more of like a family saga. It has a family tree at the beginning. Ta-da! And it talks a lot about the human experience. So many topics are covered: grief, loss, loneliness, finding yourself, immigration. So these 2 characters are both from India. Sunny moves to New York City and is pursuing journalism, and Sonia is also a writer, and she did live in America for a while, but she moves back to India, and they're both kind of trying to find themselves. So this is written over the span of many years, and it deals with their grandparents, their parents. There's also a theme of magical realism. There is this like mythical god creature called Balbada, I think, who is like this demon deity who protects her. It deals with abusive relationships. It's just incredible, and it's written in such beautiful prose. It's like reading poetry. I was so excited every day when I had time to like hop into my bed and open the book and just plunge into this world that Kiran Desai created. I'm telling you, it was so incredibly beautiful. It's like a river moving across and you just wanted to join and flow through the characters. That is such a cringe metaphor, but I don't know how to carry across the point that it was just so incredibly beautiful. And I was so attached to these characters. Sonia, she's beautiful, she's magnetic, but she's also subdued subdued and she's lonely, and that's why it's called The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny, because these two characters, it's like a coming of age, you know, they're finding themselves and they're both lonely and they're looking for connection, they're looking for meaning. It's just such a good capture of the human experience. I genuinely recommend it so incredibly much to anybody, and I think Kieran Desai is my new favorite author. Another thing to note is that her previous book, which I haven't read yet, but that was published almost 12 or 13 years ago. Then she took a break after winning the prize, and her latest published book is this one. So you can just tell how much time, passion, love, creativity over the span of more than a decade it took to write this book. It's like her magnum opus. It's really stunning. That's all I'm going to say about it. The next book that I read is called Room by Emma Donoghue. This is quite a famous book. It was also longlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2010. I don't know the difference between the Man Booker Prize and the Booker Prize. I'm going to have to search that up. Yeah, I remember hearing about this book a long time ago, and then one day I just finally picked it up and I gave it a read. I also think they made a movie about it, which I haven't watched. But I have very mixed feelings about this, which I think is the whole purpose of the book. It's basically a very sad, gut-wrenching story. It's written through the perspective of a 5-year-old boy, so the writing is very childish and sometimes nonsensical because that's how 5-year-olds think. Throughout his monologues, you understand what a horrific situation he is in. The thing that really annoyed me about this book is that I hated the 5-year-old kid. You know, I know he's a child and I know he's born into this horrific situation, but he's just so incredibly selfish. And you can't fault him for it because I know he's a child and he doesn't understand anything. But all I can think and all I feel for is his mother, who is going through this horrific life experience. Because it's written through his perspective, you never get her thoughts, her feelings. It's just his interpretation of why she's acting like this. I just really wanted to read about her. That kind of frustrated me. I wanted to know more about her. I wanted her perspective, her experience, her thoughts. But I suppose it's a very creative and stylistic choice to write it from his perspective because it really highlights how innocent and naive he is in the face of all this trauma. It was beautiful to read, very harrowing and very touching. Horrifically, this book is inspired by real life events that I went into a rabbit hole on Google search about a case similar to this that happened in Germany. I'm not going to get into it, but it's very much inspired by that. And that case, the real life case, is 10 times worse. It's really bad. I can't believe the level of depravity human beings have. It continues to astound me. That's all I'm going to say. It was frustrating that it was written through his perspective because I wanted to know more about his mother. I do recommend it. It was really good, really touching. That's my opinions on Room. The next book I read is called Notes from the Underground, which is another very infamous novel, or infamous, up to you. It's by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is my second book by him. I read White Nights as well. I do have Crime and Punishment and Brothers Karamazov staring at me from my bookshelf, but that just seems like such a daunting task. I don't know when I'll ever get around to that because these small books in themselves are daunting. I have things to say about this book. So it's split into two halves. One half is Underground and the second half is A Purpose of the Wet Snow. Underground is basically 10 really short chapters of him talking about his diagnosis of humanity, shall we say, and it's all very, very pessimistic and nihilistic and depressing. And then the second half is the character. He's unnamed in anything, or is he named? I can't remember, but I kind of just imagine Fyodor Dostoevsky as the character because it's almost kind of autobiographical. It's like watching a train wreck. You can't look away, but you really want to, but you can't, but you really want to. Dostoevsky captures the most depraved, pathetic, insecure parts of the human experience and just brings it to life, which makes people super, super uncomfortable. And it made me super uncomfortable. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I was like, oh my God, when will it end? It's like torture almost reading it because it's just so please stop. In that sense, I understand the gravity of his writing and the gravity of this book, but at the same time I didn't enjoy the book. I was like, please stop this nonsense, please stop this madness. So I'm gonna try to give you some more context. I underlined a lot. I'm just gonna read out some quotes without context, but hopefully you'll get the gist. Come, can a man who attempts to find enjoyment in the very feeling of his own degradation possibly have a spark of respect for himself? You tell me. This is him talking about someone getting injured and moaning about it. The enjoyment of the sufferer finds expression in those moans. If he did not feel enjoyment in them, then he would not moan. So he has these really nihilistic thoughts about the world and the human experience. And then we plunge into A Purpose of the Wet Snow, which is where it's like a story. We are with this character who is completely insufferable, but he just basically makes absolutely nonsensical, stupid decisions out of complete insecurity and complete FOMO that it's just so sad and pathetic and gross. He's kind of an incel and he's kind of a misogynist or like a sexist. Like, he meets this woman character and out of nowhere plunges into a 3-page monologue about how she's going to be nothing and amount to nothing and become a whore, and her life will be nothing and she'll be buried in wet sopping earth from nothing. He's met this woman for the first time. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, he was rambling on and on and on, and I was just like, please, Dostoevsky, please release this woman from your chains, like an 18th century incel. Oh god, I suffered reading this book. I suffered. I will say I'm glad I read it because it's a good capture of really the darkest, most hideous parts of human nature. There's this one scene where he meets up with one of his old childhood schoolmates. He kind of invites himself to a birthday party for a person he doesn't even like. He goes to this party, completely embarrasses himself. They left the table because they were so embarrassed of him. His friends leave and sit somewhere else, and instead of him leaving because he's drunk and it's a night, you know, he's gonna call it a day, he proceeds to walk back and front, sweating profusely as everybody stares at him and thinks, what a fucking weirdo. And in his head he's like, I cannot leave. So he's just pacing back and front for 3 fucking hours, and it's just like, what the fuck is this man doing? And in a way, deep down, you've kind of been in those situations yourself where you're like, I'm gonna pick up my dignity and go. And you do go because you have dignity for yourself and self-respect for yourself. But because he doesn't, he like does the one thing that you shouldn't do, that in your head, like when you're in that situation yourself, you think like, oh, if I really, gave no fucks, I would do this, I wouldn't leave. It's a really good analysis of choosing the worst possible decision you can make in a bad scenario. That is my 2 cents, more like 100 cents, on Notes from the Underground. Okay, not to end on a really grim note, but that was the latest book I've read so far. So let's talk about the visual media that I have consumed. I kind of want to come up with a different word because consumed feels very capitalistic. Anyway, the first movie of February I watched is a movie called Homebound, which is a Indian Hindi film, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to put it on the screen here. It was a really touching, moving story about 2 boys who are best friends and how they navigate their various issues in India. So they are Muslim in a society that hates Muslim people in India, and they struggle being working class, or more like poor working class, from a background where their parents work, their parents are elderly, but they have to do manual physical labor to support themselves. They're kind of figuring out their life, and it deals with a lot of topics like caste, classism, religion. But I think it's a really good example of a movie that has captured the pandemic and COVID-19 in a good, non-cringe way. I feel like a lot of shows that talk about the pandemic just make it really bad, like they butcher it, and then I'm just not interested in it because but because it was in India, and obviously like you experienced the pandemic in your own country, which is very different than how it was in India, for example. Like, it was different in every single country, but they moved to a big city to work in like labor factories where all these like poor working class people migrate to because they need jobs. Basically, when the pandemic happens, everything is shut down, but they weren't allowed to leave. So there are huge protests of people in the street like, let us leave, let us go home. They have to go on this pilgrimage because there's no taxi, there's no public service, there's no trains, nothing's running for them to return back to their village. So they have to walk for miles and miles for days to go back home. It's called Homebound, and it's a really touching, sad, heartbreaking story, and I think it's based on truth. It's very moving, so I do recommend it. The next movie I watched is also another Indian classic. It's called Cocktail. I have a lot to say about Cocktail. It was made in 2012, and it really captures like 2012 essence. It's set in London, but it's like a Hindi movie, so it's like all the characters are Desi and they talk in Hindi and everything. There were some fuck-ass characters. What the fuck? So there are 3 main characters, Meena, Veronica, and Gautam. I just don't understand what the fucking plot of this movie is. Like, what is the moral story? And it feels really stupid. So let me give you a quick synopsis of the plot. Basically, Meera moves to London and she's really shy, very sanskari, Indian girl. She wears Indian traditional clothing and she's very holy and she prays and, she's like this typical perfect Indian girl. And then she moves to London and she gets kind of screwed over. There's many things that happen, but she meets this party animal, Veronica, who's also from India, who lives in London. She's rich, she's brass, she drinks, she's fun, she parties, she dresses fun. By the way, I love the outfits in this movie. They're so good. She's a complete opposite of Meera. And there's a third fuck-ass character called Gautam. He's played by Saif Ali Khan. He's insufferable and horrible. The movie paints him as this like gorgeous playboy flirt. First of all, I don't think he's attractive, and I don't know what these women see in him. Sorry, no offense. Veronica and Mira are gorgeous, like drop dead gorgeous. Veronica meets Gautam and they're kind of like the same because they're both like fun party animals. They're both unserious, so they kind of like start being fuck buddies, whatever, and they end up living together. Mira also lives with Veronica, so all three of them are living together. Gautam's mother comes to visit all the way from India because she found out that like he has a girlfriend, so she's like, oh my god, I want to meet my future daughter-in-law. So she comes, surprise visits them in London. Gautam can't say that he's dating Veronica because, oh no, his mother would never accept her. She's a party girl, she likes to drink, you know, she has fun, she goes out. So he says that Mira is his girlfriend. Mira, obviously, mother loves because she's perfect for like the Indian values, you know. She loves her, and they all go on a trip to South Africa where fuck ass Gautam falls in love with Mira, and Mira stabs her best friend Veronica in the back and hooks up with him. I was sitting there watching this movie like jaw on the floor. Veronica has been nothing but sweet, loving, kind, took Mira in when she's going through shit. And this is what Mira does to her. Appalled. I'm so annoyed by this movie. I'm just gonna tell you like the fucking end of it because I think that's like where I'm most pissed off at. Basically, the end of the movie is that Mira and Gautam are gonna get married and Veronica forgives everybody and everybody's happily ever after. What the fuck? What's the moral story of this movie? That you shouldn't be a party girl and you shouldn't go out to drink. You shouldn't dress revealingly and have fun because your boyfriend will leave you for a woman who is the complete opposite of you and is religious and worships God and is modest. Is that the fucking plot of the movie? What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh my god. Pissed me off watching that. Veronica deserves so much better. That's my 2 cents on that movie. Pissed me off. Although I did love the music. The music was amazing. It has some of those classic Bollywood songs. That's where they came from. The outfits were so good. Oh, I loved it. Okay. Moving on. The next movie that I watched was Wuthering Heights. Me and my boyfriend went to watch it in the cinema on Valentine's Day, which was quite a choice. Actually, I did read Wuthering Heights, and I am one of those really annoying English majors that studied English, and I really did enjoy it. I think it's a really good classic gothic book. It's amazing. But I have some takes on the movie. I think they're pretty popular takes, so I'm pretty sure you would have heard them before. Going into the movie, I enjoyed the movie, okay? I liked it. I knew there are some very problematic aspects. And also, like, it's not Wuthering Heights. Emerald Fennell completely butchered the movie. She made, like, her own fanfic. It's not Wuthering Heights, like, at all compared to the book. The whole second half of the book is removed from the story. Characters are chopped away. Also, the most important aspect of the movie is that Jacob Elordi should not have been cast. As hot as he is, and as good as he was in the movie, Heathcliff has to be a person of color because the book deals with classism and racism. That is why Catherine cannot be with Heathcliff, because of the social divide, which casting a white man as Jacob Elordi completely erases that. You know, why couldn't they be together then? Like, what was stopping them from being together in the movie then, if he's white? You know what I mean? Like, he had to be a person of color. That completely butchered the movie. Also, Heathcliff is supposed to be a very bad person, very morally grey, abusive. In the movie, he's just hot and yearning Jacob Elordi, which, okay, I enjoyed, but it's not Wuthering Heights. So there's that. That's kind of what I have to say about it. I'm not gonna make like a whole in-depth analysis of the movie. There have been amazing video essays done about that. I'm just doing a media review. So those were my takes on Wuthering Heights. The last and final visual media that I have consumed is American Love Story, which obviously isn't completely released. I only watched the first 4 episodes because I'm still waiting for the next one to be released, or it has been released. Anyway, I haven't watched it yet. I watched it with my boyfriend as well. I convinced him to watch it, and so far I'm really liking it. I think the 90s aesthetic is so good. I really like Carolyn Bassett's style, and I just love her like effortlessness, cool girl energy. It's so good, and I'm really enjoying like the shots of New York, and even JFK Jr. looks really good. I think the casting was amazing. I think it's just really entertaining and good, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm loving the visuals. I'm loving everything. I just hope culturally we don't regress and go back to the clean girl era, because it's boring. I'm sorry, it's boring. Like, we all like Carolyn Bessette Kennedy's style because it was innovative for the time. People dress like that now, and like that was what the whole clean girl trend was. Enjoy the show for what it is. Enjoy her for like her aesthetic and what she had. But please, as a culture, can we not go back to clean and beige and basic? Because I think that the clean girl had its moment, and it's time to be messy and grunge, you know, and experiment with makeup and have fun. And where's the color? We need fun. This is not a video essay. It's kind of just me talking about the media I enjoy and consume in a month. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I will do another one next month. I wonder what all the media I will consume next month will be. Hopefully you got some recommendations that you will enjoy, and those were my 2 cents on everything that I talked about. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, you know what to do, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye!